there's every school program around here has like 4-H and all that kind of stuff. So they're I don't think going to be so receptive to maybe that kind of information that we're sharing, but to share it at a library or something like that where people get to choose to come in is more, the purpose. And we've shown it at a bunch of theaters, and every showing has sold out. People asked tons of questions, and it's been great.
That's wonderful.
And we got a grant from our local community foundation to make that little documentary, and we wanted to take the approach of kind of talking to experts related to health, the environment, and then we were kind of the one speaking to the plight of the animals. And we're really happy with how it turned out. So
I think we created it with the intention that maybe a certain mature high school classroom might be appropriate. We haven't had that opportunity, but if 17 or 18...
Welcome to the Better Life for Animals podcast, where we amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. Through powerful stories and expert insights, we shine a light on the efforts to rescue, protect, and advocate for animals. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Every follower helps us reach more people and support animal sanctuaries. Enjoy the conversation.
Sarah Salluzzo and Jonina Turzi are the co-founders of Lancaster Farm Sanctuary, a nonprofit in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, that rescues farmed animals and promotes a compassionate plant-based lifestyle. Sarah, the executive director, has a background in social work, media, and nonprofit outreach. She's passionate about animal rights, emotional healing, and using storytelling to inspire change. Jonina, the vice president, is a doctor of physical therapy who brings her experience in trauma-informed care, yoga, and environmental ethics to the sanctuary's mission. Since starting the sanctuary in 2017, they've created a safe haven for animals and a platform for education and advocacy guided by the values of nonviolence, truth, and compassion. Sarah and Jonina, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for doing this.
Cheryl.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for
My
having us.
pleasure. Please tell us just a little bit about yourself and just how Lancaster Farm came to be.
So I'm Sarah. This is Jonina, and we always talk about how many people contact us and say it's their dream to start a sanctuary, and how that was not at all what our situation was, and that was not how our sanctuary started. We're both from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which many people may know. Agriculture. So we grew up surrounded really in the heartland of animal ag, and we both were doing advocacy work, a lot of legislative advocacy, and that certainly accomplished a lot. Actually, we really helped with getting some crucial legislation passed here in Pennsylvania. But there were so many kind of roadblocks and exceptions when it came to animals farmed for food. So we had visited some sanctuaries, and we thought, this would really have an impact in Lancaster County. It's a way for people to reframe how they think about animals, maybe a chance for people to meet and get to know animals, and hopefully be inspired by that. So starting this sanctuary was really a strategic move to try to have impact here in this region, and so that's how we started. So we were both working full-time. Jonina still works full-time. We started off slow. We were on a much smaller property initially, and we both worked. We had no paid staff. We had some volunteers that would come in the afternoon and take care of the animals while we were at work. And it just grew from there. And so, now we're on a larger property and doing a lot more. I'm sure we'll talk about that as the podcast goes on. So,
how about you, Jonina?
Share anything?
We were involved, as Sarah said, with the Humane Society, again, doing that citizen lobbying. And it felt so wonderful to have that momentum to get that legislation passed, as you said, Sarah. And then I really feel like the impact that you spoke of, the sanctuary piece, we saw a need for more education and reaching out into the community to have people locally here and anyone who can come to visit, or the stories we share on social media. I mean, what's so powerful is that people may or may not really know farmed animals as individuals. They might know they love their cats or their dogs as family members. And for some, even those that were raised around here like we were, they might be meeting an older male cow for the first time ever because that being didn't exist, that opportunity for interface didn't exist here. So that impact and that education piece, that was really the drive for us.
So your desire, of course, is to save animals, but also in so doing to hopefully bring humans along, because we seem to be shut off from what's really going on. And I think what I'm hearing is you want to highlight, these are sentient beings. These animals have feelings and fears, and they love just like your dog and your cat. So come and meet one. Is that what Lancaster Farm Sanctuary offers? Yeah. Okay, excellent.
Yes,
that's it.
And of course, like you said, the most important thing first and foremost too is the rescue and sanctuary piece. And there are so many animals here in Lancaster County who are in need, and there's no sanctuary here doing work like this. So often we're their only option in this region. So it was much needed to start a sanctuary here.
Okay.
But of course, the number that we take in is where the demand for sanctuary placement far exceeds our ability just to rescue. So we always say we can't rescue our way out of the problem. That education piece, that awakening, that's what the really big impact.
Understood. There's always more demand than there is supply, unfortunately. So you're in Lancaster, and how large are you, and how many animals do you have?
We're 20 some odd acres, and we have now we have a lot of birds, chickens here, but we have probably close to 100 animals at this point. So chickens, turkeys, ducks, goats, sheep, pigs, cows, and horses,
one alpaca.
And one alpaca. So it keeps us busy.
I'm sure it does. I don't think people realize just how busy. People think it's not a romantic notion to have a sanctuary. This is you've got to have a passion, because this is grinding work day in and day out. And as you had mentioned, Jonina, you still have to work in order probably to support yourself, is my guess. Is there any truth to that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how large do you have volunteers, or do you have a staff beyond the two of you, or how does your
we have staff. So we have a few paid caregivers, one full-time, and then a couple of part-time people. We have a lot of volunteers, a lot of interest in our community, which has been amazing. That said, we would never survive without our paid staff members. There's no way we could do it just with volunteers. So, but we are lucky in the sense, when we started, it was just an absolute leap of faith. We sold our home in Lancaster and bought this small property, and we had no idea if people were going to be interested in what we were doing, if we were going to have any donor support, any volunteer support, and it's just been amazing. So we are really lucky in that way. It's been great. So we probably have it's like a rotation of probably 40 or so volunteers that help out.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not the same two people as you now when you started in 2017. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about that. Like, what were you thinking you were getting yourself into? What did you find yourself getting yourself into? What have been your biggest challenges, but also your most wonderful victories?
Oh, wow. So we are certainly not the same. It is absolutely a grind, as you said. We kind of wake with the sun and go to bed, with the animals. Everything kind of rotates around their needs. And so you do have to really work to maintain your sense of self in that. It's not like, it's like having children, I suppose, where, it's one thing to say, oh, put your oxygen mask on first. But if those around you are not well, you really don't feel like it's okay to take time for yourself. So it's a struggle, but we try to maintain who we are and the things that help sustain our mental health and well-being. But it is the greatest joy too. So it's hard work. The grind is hard. The 7 days a week, 365 part is hard. But the joy of seeing someone come injured or abused, and there's this moment that happens when they're out of quarantine and they just start to mingle with others. It's one of my absolute favorite moments in this work, where we might even be about to see it with a young lamb who 3 months now she's been in quarantine, and we're waiting on a lab test that we might have by tomorrow, and she might be about to meet others for the first time, mingling, and that just is worth everything, every bit of it. And to see them, the animals, the residents, live their whole lives in freedom and peace. I mean, there's absolutely nothing you wouldn't do for that. The one surprise that Sarah kind of alluded to already is the CUMing community and how positive that has been from, our surrounding community and the response to what we're doing. One of our ongoing joys also is just seeing the volunteers and the staff here, the team here, they become friends. And sometimes, we heard from people coming almost emotionally and saying, this is the first time I'm around people where I'm, eating plant-based food and we're of the same mindset.
Yeah, they feel like they belong.
They finally
feel like an outcast.
Yeah, the woman said, they make fun of me at school for what I eat, and now I come here and it's like you have a community that is of like mind and heart. That we weren't expecting that. That wasn't part of our motivation, but that has been a great and lasting joy of this.
Yeah, we just actually had a volunteer potluck this weekend, and we had probably 45 people here, and there was so much fun. And people brought their grandkids to show and their partners, because it was an opportunity for the volunteers to share with their families. And it was so lovely, and everybody was so happy.
Yeah.
There was so much food, and it was all plant-based, and it just was, it was amazing. So it felt really, really good. And everybody just kept commenting, like, we should do this more often, and we should do this at holidays. So you don't have to be around our families who, eat animals and things like that we all know it's, very difficult. So to have community and support like that, it is incredible. And like Jonina said, it wasn't on our list of things we were going to accomplish by starting the sanctuary, and yet it's been one of the biggest blessings of starting this place. So
that is incredible. I'm so heartened to hear that 45 volunteers show up at a potluck. That makes me feel great. I live in Las Vegas. I don't know that we could pull that off here. So good for you.
Yeah, that's really nice.
So do you have a way, a method of deciding we have capacity for another animal, or we'd love to take this animal, but we just can't at this time? Is it, I mean, that's always the heartbreaking decision, but I'm sure in order to be successful and sustainable, you have to make those hard choices. So what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, that's a constant struggle, and it's really just kind of uh, we assess case by case basis, and it depends so much on what we have going on at present. So lately, we have not been taking in new animals, and that's because we took in a few lambs just before, well, around Easter. They were all rescued, Easter lambs.
Mm.
Um, and the one who Jonina spoke about earlier, her name's Maeve. She's had a very scary, scary for many reasons, infection in her leg, which has required so much intensive care. So she had an IV catheter in for 2 months. Yeah. And so for Jonina and I, I mean, tending to her catheter, that had to be done every couple of hours. So we're literally flushing her catheter, cleaning her leg, bandaging her leg. I mean, it was so much care, and it was just around the clock. And then one of the other lambs was sickly and required a lot of care. And then we have a horse who's, he's kind of back and forth with the amount of care he needs, but right now it's pretty intensive. So you have to assume when you take someone in that they're going to require a lot. You have to kind of err on the side.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you could really be caught off guard, and it overburdens. There's only so much we can do, in a day. There's only so much the caregivers can do. And the volunteers are wonderful, but they can't be responsible for that level of care with an animal. So it comes down to us typically. And Maeve was living in our house, and it's just so much. So we couldn't possibly add on top of that. And she's still battling this infection, which, is we rescued her from a livestock auction just before Easter. She was born at the auction, so her mother would have been shipped off to slaughter, and she had given birth to Maeve at the auction house, and we were able to get her out of there just by luck. But when we took her, she had this wound on her leg, which has turned into this. It's a Pseudomonas infection. I'm sharing all this because the other piece of this is, we have a volunteer here who is a human doctor, and she actually kind of specializes in infectious diseases. And she looked at Maeve's culture results, and she said the fact that a lamb with this antibiotic resistant strain of Pseudomonas was in a livestock auction about to go into the food chain for humans should be front page news and absolutely terrifying everyone. So, but there's that. But yeah, so she's required, so many antibiotics, and she's still not recovered. So yeah, it's intense. So that's kind of where we're at. If we find that we have some time in our day and space, then it's like, and if there's space here at this sanctuary, it depends on the species of animal, and we get a call, then we kind of know, like, okay, we're sort of in the clear. We have the ability to take in another sheep or goat. So it's kind of a rolling basis. We just have to go case by case.
That is such an incredible story, though. And I'm glad you brought it up because we do want to highlight things that people need to hear, which are things like, antibiotic resistance that's looming, that ends up in our food system, that, and then as you were sharing, I was thinking back to another sanctuary I visited, And they got their start by, they were going to find a horse at one of these auctions. And at that time, they hadn't seen it until then, but they saw all these other livestock animals. And these poor animals were just terrified. They were stressed, they were sad, they were scared. As you said, they've been separated. And that's no different than what you or I would go through. And it just breaks my heart that people don't make that connection. That what we're doing so callously to animals, we wouldn't want done to ourselves. So where's the golden rule in that? Absolutely. So I'm glad you brought that up. So I'm hearing though is you have wonderful support. Clearly, you've got some angels looking out for you, because it sounds like when you needed a medical doctor, she showed up. But still,
we're on speed dial with many vets. So.
Oh, absolutely. But it's got to be just so daunting.
You're listening to Better Life for Animals podcast. Our mission is to amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. First of all, go ahead and subscribe to this channel wherever you're watching or listening. And then get involved by visiting betterlifeforanimals.com. That's betterlifeforanimals.com. Be sure to check out our blog, learn more about incredible sanctuaries, and explore our book section, where 100% of net proceeds from book sales are donated to sanctuaries. Every action you take helps to make a difference. And remember, subscribe to this channel. And now, back to the show.
If you're just listening to us now, we are speaking with Lancaster Farm Sanctuary, and this is Better Life for Animals. I have to tell you, I love your website. I love all the fabulous stories about each one of your residents, shall we call them. And I also am very key to talk about a couple of things, the educational piece and your fundraising pieces, because I notice a couple things. You have a couple programs, one being the Pen Pal program for younger children, I guess, to become a pen pal with an animal. How's that going?
Sure, that's going great. I mean, it is summer, so I think there's fewer classrooms that we have a volunteer who heads that program. She herself is an educator. And then when the school year starts up, it's up to, I think, 10 or so classrooms that she is, in fact, facilitating the voice of animal residents. So it's not that Edie the goat is stamping on the paper and sending that back, but Jill is the name of the human, and she is empowered to ask in her heart of hearts, now, how would Edie really answer the children's questions? And so there's a really fun back and forth there. And they do get to see photos, and, it's a wonderful opportunity for large groups of children and younger children to interact and get to know the animals as individuals. That's something that we're asked to have large groups of children or classrooms come, and that's something it's really hard to accommodate. The animal spaces need to be calm, and many, if not all of the animals here have degrees of trauma. So we just found that it was by necessity that we had an alternative to, 30 or 60 kids a week or something.
Like field trips.
Yeah, field trips. Thank you. So it came of necessity, but it's actually been lovely to see how well they respond. The children send the dearest letters and cards, and they draw the animals' pictures, and they say, "Oh, Joel, I have a brother too. He's my best friend." They just see the things they have in common. It's the immediate familiarity, and this so sweet, so dear.
That's such a novel idea, and I think everyone should be doing that. All children should have a farm pet, even if it's from afar, right? I mean, today writing is changing. Let's just go with that. But when I was a girl, decades ago, pen pals were the thing. I would look forward to my letter from somebody. I lived in California. She lived in Ohio. Maybe I heard from her once a month. But this I look back on it like, because today, you know, everything is instantaneous, right? And it's like, well, you didn't respond. It's been a minute, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
back then it was like I would get a letter and I would reread it and think about it and dream about it. And so I love that approach. And you're right, it solves two issues. It connects children with animals, and it also kind of gives the animals the break from
Yeah.
humans that
Yeah,
they need. I
absolutely.
mean,
Yes.
unfortunately, they've already had their fill of humans, it sounds. I
Yeah.
also noticed that you work with older children. I love that video that you have on your website. I think it's called "The Choice Is Yours."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Okay, yeah, and that doesn't sugarcoat anything, and I'm good with that. But so, how old are the kids that get to see that video?
Yeah, so that we have taken more into like area theaters and places like that where
Okay.
people get to choose if they're coming in to see it. So yeah, I think it's a little too intense for like a classroom of kids just with the information we're sharing. So and it is, you know, it's tricky. We're in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. You know, it's definitely there's every school program around here has like 4-H and all that kind of stuff. So they're I don't think going to be so receptive to maybe that kind of information that we're sharing. But to share it at a library or something like that where people get to choose to come in is more, yeah, the purpose. And we've shown it at a bunch of theaters, and every showing has sold out.
Oh,
People asked tons of questions, and yeah, it's been
that's
great. And we
wonderful.
actually, yeah, we got a grant from our local community foundation to make that little documentary. And yeah, we wanted to, you know, take the approach of kind of talking to experts related to, you know, health, the environment, and then we were kind of the one speaking to the plight of the animals. And yeah, we're really happy with how it turned out. So
I think we created it with the intention that maybe a certain mature high school classroom might be appropriate. We haven't had that opportunity, but if 17 or 18-year-old kids and their teacher wanted to tackle that together, I think that was kind of our goal, is that an older group of kids might also have that chance to get that information.
I think it's a wonderful video. I love a couple things that you said. One being that you got a grant to do it. Also that you sell tickets and they sell out. Good for you.
yeah.
So I take it you avail yourself of all the governmental options that are out there to offer any type of funding that's available.
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of our funding, like literally 98%
Mm.
comes from small donors. So we, there are not that many grants, at least that we know of, and there are so many people competing
Mm.
for those grants in the animal rescue world. So we've had some success with more local oriented grants, but yeah, most of our funding comes from individuals
Just
for
those
sure.
individuals that donate on a regular basis to adopt a pig or adopt,
Yeah,
write a letter. Okay, excellent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
And then
notice you
through
have a
social
big,
media.
go ahead, pardon me.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that you have a big fundraiser coming up, and that looks very exciting. In fact, you're calling it a gala. Have you,
Yeah.
in fact, I want to make sure everybody knows about that. It's in September.
Oh,
Tell us
no,
all
you should
about
go.
You
it.
should come. You should come, Carol. You
Yeah,
are
I should
invited.
come. Oh, thank you.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's our sixth annual
Oh, wow.
gala. We call it the Gala and Auction because it's a wonderful, fun dinner, but we also add this piece to it that allows us to fundraise much more. And it's really a fun one. It's an online auction. So even if your listeners are not going to be able to attend the gala dinner here, they could still participate in the auction online. And so it's really fun. Lots of different organizations or businesses, sorry, are donating items. And these range from jewelry to artwork to getaways, a vacation stay somewhere. So lots of different donors that people then bid while they're there, and we can raise so many more dollars for the animals and to fund our work and make more of an impact. But it's delicious food, and we wish you could all come for the actual meal part. That's actually a blast too. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's like it's my favorite thing that we do here. So, and it's September 13th. So the whole week leading up to it, the auction will be online. So again, I'm not sure when this will air, but people can check it out. But then the actual event, the gala, is here at the sanctuary, and we sell out every year at like 120 tickets. And it's a multi-course plant-based dinner, and it's so great. So everybody just kind of strolls around and gets to interact with the animals. We have volunteers stationed all around the property, so people can ask questions about the animals and get to know them a little, and yeah, it's really magical. So, and it's a really lovely time of year too. And we're very lucky that one of our dear friends is just like the best chef ever. So she does the food for us, and it is really incredible.
So what I'm hearing is you have really pulled in local support. You've got a wonderful team that supports you, even though you're in Lancaster, as you say.
Yeah.
How interesting that we have to say, well, we're in this heavily animal ag, environment, and yet, even with all that going on underneath, there are all these people who want something better. Isn't that interesting? Hope springs eternal, right?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, is there anything we can do to help you? What more would you like to share before we have to say goodbye?
Yeah, I mean, I would love anybody listening to follow us on social media. That's
Absolutely.
a great way. Instagram and Facebook primarily, and that's the best way to kind of keep up with what's happening here, keep up with the animals and our work. We do share a lot of stuff on our stories just throughout the day. So if people do follow us, definitely check that out, because it's kind of more casual and we just throw stuff up there all the time. We have a Patreon, which, if you're familiar, it's like another form of social media, but you can donate to participate monthly, and it can be as little as, I think, $2 or $5 a month, and as large as you want. But there's some exclusive content there. Jonina heads that up, so I don't even know what she's doing over there on Patreon, but she seems to be having fun.
Always a good time.
So, and I think through our website, of course, but I don't think it's a surprise that as things are evolving here, there's more and more need for support from many nonprofit organizations, and we're among them. And certainly, I think there's more and more individuals that are struggling economically. So we're definitely seeing our support go down, which isn't unique to us. It seems to be a trend. So, by following us and supporting our work, I mean, that's kind of the best you can do. And we're not a giant organization, so it's not like you're giving your money and you have no idea where it's going. It's if you follow us, it's like, we're going to make a plea like George the horse is sick again, and he's needing the vet again, and his bills are this much, and we could really use your help with that. Or, that's pretty much what happens with us. So we just put it all out there and then hope the public will step up and help make it happen for them. So. Yeah.
Well, you two are doing amazing work, and I have every confidence that you're going to weather through these challenging times and see better days like we all are. And I love the fact that you're spreading compassion. I love the educational piece. And if I ever find myself in Lancaster, I will absolutely stop by and visit. And I hope anyone listening will do the same. Give our friends here a holler, and absolutely try and support them. I love the pen pal idea. I love the fact that this is worth watching. It's like 25 minutes long, right? Something like that. It's not too long.
And it's free on the website,
Free.
so anybody
Yes,
can check it out.
it's totally worth watching. And then, of course, the gala. I love the idea that it's online, because that means everyone all over the country can help you continue your good work. So give us your website, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's lancasterfarmsanctuary.org. So that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, easy to find.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jonina and Sarah. It's been just a pleasure.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
This has been Better Life for Animals. And if you have enjoyed it, please like us and subscribe so that we can create a better life for animals.
Thank you for joining us on the Better Life for Animals podcast. Together, we can create a world where all beings are treated with dignity, respect, and care. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. It helps us reach more people and spread awareness about the incredible work happening in animal sanctuaries. You can also share this episode with friends and fellow advocates to keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep speaking up, taking action, and making a difference for the animals.